I'd like to welcome.
Yes, you're good.
I'd like to welcome all of you this evening. I'm Sister Phyllis, and I am one of the co-chairs for the Southeast Care for Creation Committee in our Southeast Catholic parishes, which is St. Mary's, St. Boniface, and Blessed Sacrament. Deacon Duncan, who is behind the camera, but right now, is part of our committee and also sort of the coordinator behind all of the ministries at the Southeast Parish community. And the third person, Grace Adams, is unable to be here this evening because she is working and traveling. But one of the goals that we had set for ourselves last year was to do something in honor of the 10th anniversary of Laudato Si. So we invited Dr. Jerry because he has been trained by the United States Catholic Conference of Bishops to present programs on care for creation and climate change. And we had the honor of his presence at our Sisters of St. Joseph Mother House many, many years ago, I think a couple of times.
A couple of times, yeah.
Yeah. And he has made presentations in other places. And so I kind of got down on my knees and I said, do you think you could do something for us? And he agreed. So, before he gets started, I'll just take a little prayer. This is taken from Pope Francis's book, Care for Creation, Care for Our Common Home. And it's a prayer for our earth. And we know that our beautiful earth is in trouble. And all of us are responsible to care for our common home. All-powerful God, you are present in the whole universe and in the smallest of your creatures. You embrace with your tenderness all that exists. Pour out upon us the power of your love, that we may protect life and beauty. Fill us with peace, that we may live as brothers and sisters, harming no one. O God of the poor, help us to rescue the abandoned and forgotten of this earth, so precious in your eyes. Bring healing to our lives, that we may protect the world and not prey on it, that we may sow beauty, not pollution and destruction. Touch the hearts of those who look only for gain at the expense of the poor and the earth. Teach us to discover the worth of each thing, to be filled with awe and contemplation, to recognize that we are profoundly united with every creature as we journey toward your infinite light. We welcome you for being with us each day. Encourage us, we pray, in our struggle for justice, love, and peace.
Amen.
Without further ado, I will give you Dr. Hughes.
Thank you very much, sister. I think I'm mic'd up.
Just turn that off.
Okay.
Yep,
Okay.
beautiful. If anybody's having trouble hearing, please let me know. If I'm too loud, let me know. I'm not very good with these things. So appreciate you guys inviting me to be here today. And it's one of the toughest talks I've ever put together because the last time I gave a talk was in October of 2024, and then November of 2024 happened. And I'm not the kind of person, anybody who knows me, who can go up and give a Debbie Downer kind of speech. I think like a lot of people in the environmental movement, this has been a brutally bad year. And so The reason I said yes to sister is because I can't say no to a nun, but it's because it's during the season of creation, right? And so that is a season of celebration. It's a season that we thank God for what we have and kind of live in the awe and wonder of it. And I said, I can work with that. I can kind of get us there. So even my wife has never seen this talk. So this is our goal tonight. This is from Pope Francis, so I'm just using his goal. Our goal is not to amass information or to satisfy curiosity, but rather to become painfully aware, to dare to turn what is happening in our world into our own personal suffering, and thus to discover what each of us can do about it. So I'm going to hopefully not make you suffer too much, but the whole idea of this talk is to get to this point. What are you going to do about it? Because it is our problem to solve. So just so you know a little bit about me, I'm a tree hugger forever. I'm a bleeding heart cardiologist. Whoops. I'm a consistent life ethic kind of guy. I believe, Deacon, don't yell at me, but women should be deacons also. Okay, good. I didn't want to start an argument right off.
We did have a speaker that talked specifically
Yeah.
about that topic.
And this is Nettie's in my home parish. This is my wife, Annette, for anybody who hasn't met her yet, is Transfiguration. So this is sort of an iconic picture that was sort of during my formative years. This was taken on Christmas Eve in either 1968 or 69. I was going to look it up, but one of those 2 years. And it's called Earthrise, just by accident that they saw the Earth rising above the moon as the Apollo spacecraft went around it. And then we have this picture, and this is sunrise on the Earth taken from the space shuttle. So the sun is just going up, and you can see this is the curve of the Earth, that's the atmosphere. That's all we have to sustain all the life on Earth, above the ground, below the ground, in the sea. If it wasn't for that thin layer, we couldn't be here. And as you guys know, that thin layer is under serious attack right now. This is the guy who ran to be our governor. Luckily, we told him to take a hike, but unfortunately, President Trump picked him up, and he's doing more damage than he could have done in our state. And I think, again, during the season of creation, we live in a beautiful state. Does anybody know where that is? Heart Lake, you got it, exactly. And a couple weeks from now, it'll look like that, or probably next weekend, it'll look like that. It's a beautiful place if anybody wants to go see it. It's just outside of Lake Placid. So, that's the beauty that God gave us. The reality is because of us, we're dealing with this, right? That's the California fires. Another thing God gave us was the Raquette River on a beautiful fall day with the ducks kind of hanging in and relaxing. We've given this, right? This is the floods in Texas that killed all those kids. Okay, yeah. So again, I don't want to be a Debbie Downer. I want to be very clear to be grateful for what we were given, but we have to accept the responsibility that we are mainly responsible for that. Again, who doesn't want to go on vacation in that place, right? We all like to. So it's like, thank God for places like that. Well, the reality is that's what a lot of our beaches look like. That's us. That's not God. I love critters. Anybody who knows me, moose is my favorite animal. This is the Adirondack moose with its baby. It's the Adirondack loons. The reality of the critters is they have to swim around in that, right? And that's all from us. Even worse, they get caught up in that, and if it wasn't for the photographer who hopefully rescued that turtle, it didn't have a chance. Now, I know deers like Cheetos, but they don't have opposable thumbs, so they can't get them out of the bag. So yeah, they have trash. I wanted to make clear, I think a lot of people here know this, but Pope Francis in Laudato Si, groundbreaking 2015. But if you look at all the popes during my lifetime, they've been consistent on this, right? So this is Pope Paul VI, whoops, not what I wanted to do, in 1972. Our generation must energetically accept the challenge of going beyond partial and immediate aims to prepare a hospitable earth for future generations. Sounds like you could say that today, right? I'm of Polish heritage, so I've always had warm feelings for St. John Paul II, who described the environmental concerns as a moral issue, and they noted back to 1990 that people have a grave responsibility to preserve the Earth's order for the well-being of future generations. That's 35 years ago. A lot of people think that Pope Benedict was just a very conservative guy. He was very conservative when it came to the environment. He wanted to conserve it. He was known at that time as the Green Pope. And if you ever want to know more about it, this book is probably still in print, called The 10 Commandments of the Environment, as seen by Pope Benedict. Preservation of the environment, promotion of sustainable development, and particular attention to climate change are matters of grave concern to the entire human family. That was 28 years ago. And then 2015, Pope Francis wrote you guys a letter. So I think I'm preaching mainly to the choir, but who has heard of this before? Who has read it cover to cover? Yeah, good. If you haven't, it's worth reading cover to cover. And I try to do it once a year because it is an amazing document. There's just so much in it that every time I read it, it's like, I don't remember him saying that. There's a lot of good stuff. So you guys know what an encyclical is. It's a letter to the bishops, but this one is unique as it is intended for every person living on the planet. It builds upon Catholic social teaching, and Laudato Si was the first gender-inclusive encyclical. And I'm just going to give a couple examples, a taste of what he said in the encyclical. We have to realize that a true ecological approach always becomes a social approach. It must integrate questions of justice in debates on the environment so as to hear both the cry of the earth and the cry of the poor. The universe unfolds in God. There is a mystical meaning to be found in a leaf, in a mountain trail, in a dewdrop, in a poor person's face. The ideal is to discover God in all things. So this is kind of the feeling you get reading this. There's just innumerable great quotes. To be a protector of God's handiwork is essential. It is not optional. It is not a secondary aspect of our Christian experience. Why aren't the deacons and priests saying that daily? It's not optional. We're very fortunate. Our pastor at Transfig, Father Rob Borsey, knocked it out of the park for the season of creation homily he gave. But that's only the second time he's mentioned the environment in the years that I've known him. Many of our poor live in areas particularly affected by phenomena related to warming, and their means of subsistence are largely dependent on natural reserves and ecosystem services, such as agriculture, fishing, and forestry. By the way, these numbers, if you want to, you go back to the paragraph in Laudato Si that came from. In practice, we continue to tolerate that some consider themselves more human than others, as if they have been born with greater rights. And I think that's, unfortunately, the world is going more in that direction in the 10 years since Laudato Si. He talks a lot about the throwaway culture. These problems are closely linked to a throwaway culture that affects the excluded just as quickly as it reduces things to rubbish. It's not just, plastic pollution. It's the elderly, it's the unborn, it's the disabled. They're thrown away. And these kids, this is the Manila landfill. actually. And these kids were born there, they will live there, they will die there in the landfill. Truly throwaway people. He talks a lot about the loss of biodiversity and the sixth great mass extinction, and says, because of us, thousands of species will no longer give glory to God by their very existence or convey their message to us. We have no such right. So he's pretty clear. Can't emphasize that everything is connected, and I think the world is starting to really understand that what happens here affects you there, and that everything really is interconnected, and we have just one planet, and we all have to figure out a way to share it equitably. I think this word comes up over and over within the encyclical, and this is 10 years ago. There's an urgent need to develop policies so that in the next few years, the emissions of carbon dioxide and other highly polluting gases can be dramatically reduced, subsidizing fossil fuels and developing sources of renewable energy. We're finally making some progress on here, but not fast enough, obviously. I did want to mention, again, Pope Leo. I think most everybody's pretty excited about him and what he's been able to do in 3.5 short months. But this is really the only quote from him I could find directly relating to the environment. And it was from the homily at the Mass for Care and Creation that he did on July the 9th. Our mission to care for creation, to foster peace and reconciliation, is Jesus' own mission, the mission that the Lord entrusts on us. We hear the cry of the earth and we hear the cry of the poor because this plea has reached the heart of God. Our indignation is his indignation. Our work is his work. So seems like he's going to be very much like Francis. His style is obviously different. His persona is different. But I think his core message is going to very much be consistent with what Pope Francis had put out. Okay, so why aren't we acting urgently? So this was all came out 10 years ago. The popes prior to Francis had made this very clear. Why haven't we? And went in search for answers for this. So this is a quote from Patriarch Bartholomew, now 24 years ago. We know not simply what needs to be done, but also how to do it. Yet despite all this information, unfortunately, little is actually done. It is a long journey from the head to the heart, and an even longer journey from the heart to the hands. And what he's saying is, we understand what has to be done. We know how to do it. We can do it. It's getting to the point of action that we've failed thus far. I was fortunate enough to go to a conference put on by the USCCB at Creighton University in Nebraska a few years ago, when then Bishop of San Diego, McElderry, and now he's Cardinal in DC, gave a really good talk. And his view on why we're failing is this, that we are estranged from God, from nature, from truth, and from one another. And so estranged from God, and you can see this is church attendance, no surprise to anybody. If you look at different generations, it's kind of gone down. So, when I was born, 50-60% of Catholics went to church once a week, give or take, or more. It's down in the teens at this point. But I'm getting the sense of renewal is happening. And I told you I was with Deacon Eric yesterday, and he was telling me about some Generation Z people that he had been working with. And I came across this article today in The Guardian talking about how Generation Z, so this is the people born from 96 to 2013, so the young adults, the 20s and early 30s, seem to be bunking these trends and have a true interest in spirituality and are open to organized religion. So maybe. And it comes down to people like this. This is Sister Albertine from France. She's a social media phenomena. So if you haven't ever heard of her before, write down her name, Sister Albertine de Backer, and just YouTube her or Google her. So most of her stuff is in French, but she does some English stuff too. She's very relatable, and she's, I think, now 28 or 29 years old. So her posts coming from a woman who's a nun come with a lot of credibility to Generation Z. And then I think a lot of people saw that Pope Francis went to the Catholic Youth Jubilee Festival that was held in Rome. 1 million young people showed up in Rome, and the Pope went and was received like a rock star. So they're very receptive to what the Pope is saying. And this generation is very concerned about the environment. They're very concerned about the poor and social justice issues. So I don't know. Maybe in our lifetimes we're going to see a resurgence. Maybe. He talked about estrangement from nature, and this is the problem. So you're at a playground, the kids aren't playing, everybody's on a tablet or on their phone, right? And that's the only thing that's not realistic about this. They would be sitting in their living rooms, not out on the park bench, but you get the idea. People are not playing in nature. We need a whole lot more of this. We need a lot more of this. There's something very therapeutic to digging in the dirt, and I know we have some very avid gardeners here. Estrangement from the truth, that was a big deal in 2017 when I went to this talk. It is like everything now. We were talking earlier about how you have to triple check what your sources are. You have to be careful what AI is putting out that looks like it's fact. I apologize to anybody who happens to be a Trump fan. I do apologize. But not a word of truth comes out of the guy's mouth. So we're used to people in great power lying to us and keeping a straight face day after day after day. And the Cardinal made a big point about this. Creation, this was actually a slide I made back from the first Trump administration. Remember alternative facts? When I was a kid, an alternative fact was a lie, right? So they still are lies. What if climate change is a hoax? It's too big, there's nothing we can do. We don't have the technology. Of course we do. It will kill the economy. No, what they're doing is going to kill the economy. Love this one. What if it's a big hoax and we create a better world for nothing? Okay, well, could be worse. So we need to encourage honesty. And what I think we really have to do, which is hard when the people who may not be telling the truth are kind of embracing violence. So it's a tricky time. You don't want to be confrontational, but you want to hold people accountable. It's going to be a very tough tightrope to be back in a world of truth. And then he talked about estrangement from one another, and this was pre-COVID crisis, but already the number of especially elderly people who were living in lonely situations without a community was bad. Obviously, COVID made us all computer geeks, and so we weren't touching each other. We were just seeing each other's faces and talking in series instead of talking to each other in real time. So again, this is a little bit old slide. Get your jab and get out and be with people again. And so when Sister invited me and it's going to be a live audience, I said, yeah. If this was going to be a Zoom webinar, it was a no. I have no interest in sitting in front of the computer. I like looking at people's faces and getting feedback. So if any of you start snoring, I know it right away. Fortunately, at the same conference, there's a wonderful PhD named Aaron Baviano who wrote this book, which is a really good book if you want to read it. And I noticed this as I was putting the talk together, Planting Seeds for Action. which again, my talk is about action. If you look at what came out of the USCCB, it's planting the seeds for the season of creation. So she was ahead of her time. So she talked about why we're not working urgently is because of gaps in knowledge, gaps in caring, and then gaps in action where we're going to end up. And it's gaps in knowledge. It's like for a guy who's been doing climate talks for 20 years, you've got to be kidding me that there's gaps in knowledge. We've known about the greenhouse effect for a century and a quarter, okay? The science is very settled. We're used to 500-year storms now, right? So when you get used to 500-year storms, we have last year with a 1,000-year storm. And when you get used to that, then the fastest developing hurricane in history happened in the Gulf. Again, you would have to be very blind to not see that the environment has changed within our lifetimes and is changing in a negative way faster than most science predictions. So scientists are usually pretty conservative. So they say, this is going to happen, but the range of things that could happen is like that. It's happening at the bad end of the range. And everybody's seen something like this. This is carbon dioxide levels in the atmosphere. This is the last 800,000 years. Never over 300 parts per million. 2008, it was just under 400. The estimate for 2100 is somewhere around 550 if we get it right. Today in Rochester, we're at 427. So we're right here. So this is 800,000 years. This is today. So there really are gaps in knowledge, and this was interesting for me to research into. So the facts are the facts. We all know it. The problem is the way the brain is wired, okay? So it's not that people are bad. It's just the way evolution is and how it's produced us. So we are really good at short-term thinking, and we discount long-term. It's like you say, well, this is going to happen in 2100. Who cares about 2100? Well, I do, because I have 3 grandchildren that were born this year that are going to be 75 in 2100, okay? It's real. So long-term is something I think about a lot. The way people think is what they see and what's around them. So they don't think about what's happening in Pakistan or Bangladesh directly relate to us. We as Catholics know different than that. And the reality is there is a finite pool that your mind can be worried about at one time. If you get too many things happening in your brain, it just kind of goes into I'm done, burnout mode. And unfortunately, we put more credibility to, well, in my experience, than what the scientist says, what reason says. But then there's people like my brother in Moline, who it's willful ignorance. He actively will not search at the data. He actively won't read Laudato Si. He prefers his ignorant bliss. So you don't want to be Uncle Munkle. Gaps in caring. And this is a real problem. I'd love to do that, but I got to go shopping. I got to play bubbles. We're going out to dinner. There's a million reasons not to get involved with the climate fight. And it's like you can keep yourself very busy and not get into this fight. And just from a lack of caring. This is from Albert Einstein. The world will not be destroyed by those who do evil, but those who watch them without doing anything. And I think that's where we're at. Apathy. And again, this is a different time, but it's so appropriate for today. This is Martin Luther King from the letter from the Birmingham jail. We will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words and action of the bad people, but by the appalling silence of the good people. very powerful. But we Catholics know that we do care, right? Obviously, preferential option for poor is part of who we are, Catholic social teaching. We do care about intergenerational solidarity. And while everybody in this room is going to get through climate change fairly unscathed because of where we live and our age group, these guys, who happen to be two of our granddaughters, they do have to worry about what it's going to be like in 2100 because they're going to be the same age as several of us in this room in 2100. And then there's gaps in action. And this is because, I don't know about you guys, but I'm plenty busy. I'm plenty busy all the time. And when Sister asked about giving this talk, it's like, oh, when? And she said, season of creation. And it's like, okay, well, I can make that work. We always go for convenience over sacrifice. We think if we recycle a couple of things, we've done our part. We really are creatures of habit. And it occurred to me driving to work this week that there will never, ever be efficient mass transit in Rochester, New York, ever. It's not going to happen. So we have to have individual vehicles that people can drive. We have to go that way. It's just not going to happen in Rochester, New York. I'm driving in, and there's one person in every car, including me. Most of them in huge SUVs or pickups, which they don't need. But that's what we want. That's our habit. We have to adapt to that reality. As far as action, many, not all of our leaders lack courage, and we are simply overwhelmed. Has anybody ever seen the arcade game Whack-A-Mole, where you whack one mole and another one pops up? I mean, we are in constant Whack-A-Mole territory and never seem to get ahead. So how do we bridge these gaps? And that's the rest of my talk. Any questions along the way, I'm happy to take, or comments or anything. So please. And as you can see, I'm a very visual person, so we got a lot of slides, but I go through them pretty fast. So I actually think that the answer is hope in action, okay? Without hope, if I thought I was hopeless, I would find better things to do on a Wednesday night than come talk to people about something that was hopeless. I don't think it's hopeless. I think we have the knowledge. I think we have the money. I think we have all the tools we need to get out of this mess, and I think we will. I don't know how, but I think we will. So this is from Laudato Si, the Pope saying, hope will have us recognize that there's always a way out, that we can always redirect our steps, we can always do something to solve our problems. And I agree with that. I don't know how we're going to get out of the terrible mess we are in right now, but I know somehow the Great Depression went away. I know somehow World War II went away. I know somehow the Crusades before that went away. I don't know how it all happens, but I do think and hope that we get to see the other side of this. The Holy Spirit can be said to possess an infinite creativity proper to the divine mind that knows how to loosen the knots of human affairs, including the most complex and inscrutable. I think the Pope knew what was coming in 2025. I love this one. Rather than a problem to be solved, the world is a joyful mystery to be contemplated with gladness and praise. Isn't it easier to work on something that is a joyful mystery than a dumpster fire? And Nelson Mandela, it always seems impossible until it's done. And again, it seems impossible right now, but we're going to get it done. And so the way we're going to get it done is starting off with an attitude of gratitude, okay? That's why I agreed to do it this season of creation. It is thanking God for what we have, apologizing for how we're screwing up, but thanking God and being in the awe and wonder of what we were given. So start with thank you, roll up your sleeves and get to work. So one of the things that's very important is that we have a mental model of where we're going to go to. So this person is bringing this with her in that direction. So going away from this, so bringing this world with her. So we have to decide, do we want to continue to live in a world of congestion, pollution, and ugliness, or do we want to live in that? I vote that. Do we want to live in a world of CAFOs and monocultures, or do we want to live in that? Go pick that. And so that's the vision that I'm working towards. I don't know how we're going to get there yet, but that's where I want to go. Do I want to be in the world of fossil fuels and refineries? Or do I want that? That, right? So you have to see where we're going to, and now we got to figure out some steps to get there.
No question on
Yes.
that last slide.
Yep.
If somebody discusses with you that an individual says, those give you brain cancer, how do you discuss that as incorrect information that that individual is spreading?
Where'd you get that information from, sir?
Well, I heard it from Don. Don doesn't lie.
Oh, yeah. One of the things I love, and so when I was doing this earlier for the USCCB, the climate science wasn't totally settled. And so there are a bunch of people who attacked me with points from Fox News usually. And I loved using, this is America, it's a great country, and you really are entitled to your own opinion. You're not entitled to your own facts. The facts are windmills do not create brain cancer. So it depends how confrontational you want to get. And I got to tell you, so this is for truth. One of our neighbors told me that I should not do this talk with you guys because you go downtown after Charlie Kirk got killed. How do you know somebody isn't there ready to kill you? It's like, I don't think I'm as controversial as Charlie, but you have to be careful how you answer people, and it has to be more respectful. So I have to come up with more respectful answers than I did years ago. And it's interesting.
So the
Those people
of yesteryear was really more direct then.
It was very much more direct because people came in, they were snipers to get me, but not with a gun, but with their pet facts. Now people really are espousing violence from the very top down, which is, it's scary times. So great question, and I don't have a full answer to it. I have to figure, and again, I tell you, because of the way I felt over the last 10 months, I wouldn't have given this talk because it would have been a Debbie Downer, would not have been a hopeful talk. So, yeah. Thank you. Other questions? Comments? Yeah.
You have that
Yeah.
slide up. My daughter and son-in-law are employed by Green Spark Solar.
Uh-huh.
They've had to lay off about 12% of their employees because of federal cuts and because of incentives not being renewed. So they're trying to do this, and they're up against the government that is not supportive, and if I as a consumer can't get an incentive, I'm less likely to spend the money.
Yeah. It is going to be very challenging for the solar industry right now, which is a shame because they have been sort of taking off, and we've allowed our chief economic competitor to kill us on it. The Chinese are absolutely eating their lunch, putting up solar panels probably 40 times faster than we are, something like that. Putting out EVs 40 times faster than we are. So my way of looking at it, we're giving a thing on the Feast of St. Francis, and one of the parts is going to be a panel, do EVs still make sense? And I'm pretty sure everybody that's on the panel will say yes to that answer. I just learned today that the federal subsidies for nonprofit organizations don't end until 27. You saw that too?
Yeah, I was trying to think, where did I just see that?
You just, me too. And it's like, so it's on my computer because I didn't delete it and I want to learn more about it. So churches, we have to 27 to put up solar panels. And you'll see how later on in my talk that actually becomes important because we were going to put up solar panels in 28. They're going to get moved back to 27 now based on that one email. Yeah?
I just want to make a comment about your question about how to respond.
Yeah.
I gave a talk in May where I was, if you could be physically assaulted and abused, I had that experience.
Nice.
And I was like frozen about how, I was so bewildered by the nature of the response. It was, if the earth is filthy, God will clean it up. Okay.
But that's true, but it's true.
From that is that that comment from that person silenced everybody else in the room because nobody wants to get that vitriol directed at them, so they don't speak up. Half a dozen of them came up to me over the next week to say they didn't agree and I shouldn't have been treated that way. So what I've learned from that is in the future, if that happens to me, I'm going to say, so not take it all on myself, but say, what else? Who else has an opinion about this? Is there anyone who would like to counterpoint that?
So who is it going to be magic or is God going to get us to do it? I think God's going to get us to do it. That's what the Holy Spirit's doing. You're right. So I would turn it right into him and say, yeah, no, the Holy Spirit's saying that we got to get our butts in gear. You're right.
Are you guys familiar with a guy named John Chancellor? He was the NBC Nightly News
Oh, yeah.
guy. Well, when he retired and Brokaw took over the desk, John would come back and do commentaries. And on Earth Day, I can't tell you what year it was, they were talking about save the Earth. And during John's commentaries, like, the Earth has been through a lot worse than what we could ever put it through. The Earth will survive, but we won't.
Great point. For another 5 billion years, the Earth is gone in 5 billion years when the sun supernovas past us, but it'll be a great view from wherever we're at. Great comments, great questions. Anything else? And again, I'm doing great with time. So again, I was told that I can keep you guys here till midnight. So we have plenty of time. No? Okay. Believe that we collectively can make a difference. And from Margaret Mead, never doubt a small group of concerned citizens, what we have right here, can change the world. Indeed, it is the only thing that ever has. I was talking to somebody earlier about the Nepal thing that happened last week. There was 5 people that started that. But there obviously was smoldering anger all through the country that in 2 days they were able to turn over their government. And believe that your individual efforts really do make a difference. And a lot of times you don't know how, but I liken it to the dropping a pebble in a calm pond and the way it ripples out. You have no idea who saw you do that act of kindness. You have no idea who, like when one of the doctors at the hospital was famous for going around and picking up trash when he saw it on the floor and just putting it in his pocket. And he'd have strangers come up to him, well, thank you for doing that, sir. Right? So, and then other people start doing that. Joyfully plant seeds. Again, you have no idea how they're going to bloom. Support like-minded, but as we've been talking about, respectfully engage those with a different view. We have to get to the point where we can have conversations, and we have to be very careful to be respectful and nonviolent, because if we get violent, they have the guns, we're going to lose. We're making slow progress. It's a marathon. Take care of yourself. Whenever I give these talks, and especially when things are getting kind of dismal and people are getting burned out, take care of yourself. Because if you burn out, if your health is not good, then you're not going to be able to help the cause. So take care of yourself. And I think Jesus really does want us to laugh when somebody can look in a camera and lie. It's like, I can't believe he just said that. Remember, you're not alone. There's a lot of organizations doing the work who have a lot of money and a lot of lawyers. But there's also, and I didn't know you were coming. Yeah, I didn't know you were coming. There are great local organizations. Reka is fantastic, and I do intend to be more involved with you guys. I don't know how, but yes. Anybody who hasn't been involved with the Climate Solutions Accelerator here in town, great people. And Green Faith is another interfaith group that is nationwide. So work together, find what you're passionate about, and then go for it. And everybody's level of passion, everybody's level of what they want to do is different. And so I can't believe that this was already 11 years ago. But the Climate March in New York City was one of the most fun events I've ever been to. 400,000 people walking past Central Park, and we were with the crazy beekeeper people, which beekeepers are crazy, but they're good. Respectful civil disobedience, I think, is going to become more and more important. And again, the Franciscan sisters have been incredible about this, and I think it's going to be going in that direction. I'm frankly surprised it didn't happen this summer. I think it's coming. And for some, what's that?
How do you counteract Lee Zeldin?
So I wrote 2 comments to the EPA. I hope he read both of them. Probably not. Do you know about the International Court of Justice thing? Yeah. I reminded him that he's going to be criminally held for what he's doing if he does this. And it's going to happen. Somebody's going to be able to go up that system. Now, again, right this minute, do I think he's going to go to jail for it? Probably not, but maybe. You look at the dude from Brazil who thought he got away with it, is going to spend the rest of his life in prison. So I don't know. Lee Zeldin is an idiot. Actually, no. I think he's probably intelligent. I think he's not a good person as far as what he's entrusted to do. And then for some of us, I think you're going to be like Dr. Jim Hansen getting arrested. Because I think it's going to take that to get to where we want to get. And one of the things to note, and you know, the cop that's doing this is not the bad guy, right? Oops, sorry. He's not the bad guy. He doesn't look like he's enjoying his job right at that moment, does he? And because he knows he's working for a machine that is amoral at best. So I think we all miss this guy, but I think we're in really good hands with Pope Leo. And it's time for us for action. So the rest of this is action. How much time do I have, sister?
Well, it's what, 8?
So I started.
7:56.
Oh, I'm good. So I'll have you definitely out of here by 8:30.
Okay, well, we just wondered if, people, if you want to share or ask us something about, what local groups are doing, and also we have refreshments over here, so maybe people.
Oh yeah. So while we're going through these actions, go get some refreshments because we're gonna not yet. We're gonna talk about some local stuff that's happening. So actions you can take on the Catholic Climate Covenant. There's this thing called the St. Francis Pledge. It's to pray for the environment, learn more about the environment, assess your impact on the environment, act and advocate. So that's an easy thing to do. Catholic Climate Covenant webpage. Switch to green energy in all your homes and businesses. Is St. Mary's Parish all green electricity?
Well, unless it's changed, the diocese had contracted for all green for almost, but I've been out of it for.
So yeah, so each
It was cheaper to go green.
Correct. Each parish had to contract with it through the diocese. So I know Transfiguration is, I know St. Joe's is. It's worth looking to see if St. Mary's is. Any business, it's very easy to call RG&E and say, we want the green option. It's not that easy to do it in the NYSEG area, but she was able to do it. Switch to green energy now. So obviously it's all going to be green energy by 2035, but don't wait 10 years to have green energy. And we save money by having solar panels.
It's a question and a comment. I live choice aggregation in Penfield.
Great.
And it looked like when it started that it was cost neutral. It no longer looks cost neutral. It looks considerably more expensive to go with community choice aggregation. And Brighton looks like they ended their program. I mean, I don't see it on their town website anymore.
It is more expensive.
So you definitely have to look into that. So I can tell you that it's much cheaper to get electrons from solar panels than it is to build additional gas-powered turbine. So I don't know enough to answer you, Kathy, but would look into it. We have a place down in Penn Yen, and so that's NYSEG, and they said there's no green option, just put up solar panels, and it just wasn't really a realistic option with our property. And so Annette spent about an hour looking, and we contract out from a solar farm in Manchester. And so when you look at your bill, 60% of the bill is transporting the electrons to you. And then there's a bunch of it that's taxes. And then the actual electrons, we save 5% on the electrons compared to my next door neighbor who's using gas electrons. So, but even if it's 10% more expensive, doing the right thing actually is doing the right thing, right? So it's money well spent. It's like your kids you want to support the solar industry so it doesn't die during this period, and that people who want to make a career in it know that 3, 4, 5 years from now, it is going to boom, okay? It's a matter of when it's going to boom, not if it's going to boom. Yes, sister?
Oh, I just wanted to mention that our sisters invested in the solar farm.
Yep.
For our mother house and several of our houses in the city. I think what was difficult in terms of billing is that it was erratic. So people didn't know really. We did get like statements about how much we were saving in terms of energy, but there would be months with a zero bill, and then down the line they would get something. So it was difficult to determine the cost. But our hope, as you said, is you're saving the environment.
You're saving the environment. You're doing good by not by you using solar power. RG&E does not have to gas up to that degree, so there's less gas being burned.
Jerry?
Yeah.
It's my understanding that if I sign up for, to get my electricity through the solar farm, my direct use of electricity is not coming from that solar farm. It's feeding the grid, but it doesn't mean that individually I'm getting the green electricity.
Yeah, so an electron is an electron. And so they all get into a big pool and get distributed around. So yeah, you don't know what actually created your electron, but you supporting the solar farm ensured those electrons are part of the pool. So yeah, electron's an electron. Yeah, you're right on that, but it's clearly the right thing to do. We got very lucky where we live. We put a barn up, and now we have a roof that gets good solar. So we have a solar array going on the roof. So we're going to be net metering down there, and because we're only there part of the time, and the sun is every day, our electricity our cost for electrons should get down to probably about $0 a year. We'll still have to pay for the transmission lines, but yeah, it's less gas that NYSEG has to burn. Eat a lot of that and very little of that. If we could cut down the meat consumption in the planet, it would make a huge impact on methane and carbon. Plant lots of trees, a little controversial, but clearly there's more reasons to plant trees than just to sequester carbon, although that does, as long as they don't end up burning in a wildfire. They provide shade, they provide places for critters to hang out, they provide fruit, they provide nuts, all those kind of things.
Is it true that algae produces more oxygen, captures more CO2 than trees?
So an equal mass? Yeah, I mean, you'd have to look at the surface area of the leaves compared to the surface area of the amount of algae. But it's just photosynthesis, right? Yeah. And again, as you know, there's good algae and there's bad algae, right? So we need algae in our lakes. We don't need too much cyanobacteria that cause the algae blooms. So yeah, it's complex. Yeah, you would not want algae blooms just to help the environment, because it doesn't. One of the things that I really stress to people is stuff wears out, and when it wears out, replace it with electric. Do not replace it with another gas-powered thing. So an easy one is lawnmowers. We have 2 properties and mow by hand a little over an acre, and we've done that for 10 years with a battery-powered one. So no cord, battery-powered, that exact one actually. And as of yesterday, we have 2 EVs. So Nettie's car had gotten to end of life. Gas, it was a hybrid, and it's now an EV. And anybody who hasn't played with an electric bike, an e-bike yet, get an e-bike and play. They're fantastic. Live more simply. A lot of what the Pope says, there's a lot of quotes about living more simply. Get out in nature more. So one of the problems is, again, people are on their computers too much, they're inside too much. You need to get outside and see the beauty of nature, and get kind of pissed off when something is beautiful and you see trash there. Or I can't tell you how disappointed I was 2 years ago growing up in upstate New York. So I know what upstate New York summer air is like. When the Quebec fires came down here and you couldn't breathe New York air, it's like, this is ridiculous. And that's 66 years of living in this area. I do want people to feel very empowered to get in the streets, because until we get about 5% of the population out on the streets the same day making the same pitch, we're not going to get where we need to get. Be vocal, but be nonviolent. And I think November 2026 is critical. It's either we put a stop to the madness, or slow it down greatly, or who knows what is going to happen in 2028 if not.
An Oxford researcher, historian, says that in the next 400 days will determine whether the United States remains a democracy or not, which includes the 2026 election.
Yeah, no, I concur with that. I think there's a lot of people who think if next November doesn't go well, things will be in place for the United States to be in an emergency, so the 2028 election won't happen. Yeah, no, I know, it's scary times. We're big believers in taking a breather and observing a Sabbath, so we try very hard not to shop or do anything besides watch football and be with family on Sundays. Go Bills! Okay, so now to what Sister was talking about. Okay, pass this out. Has everybody here heard about the Laudato Si action platform? Yeah, a little bit? Yeah. So Laudato Si came out in 2015. And in 2019, the Pope went to some dudes at the Vatican, I'm sure they were dudes, and said, everybody's had time to read it, nobody's doing anything yet, could you guys come up with a plan for action? And so some people at the Vatican came out with the system called the Laudato Si Action Platform, and then they contracted with a group in every country to roll out that platform. And in the United States, it's the Catholic Climate Covenant. So what the Laudato Si platform is, you don't have to sneak ahead yet, we'll go through that in just a minute. It's a 7-year journey. Oh yeah, please, get refreshments. Manja. Yeah, it's a 7-year journey, and the first year is a discernment year. So there's little action. Think about what you personally or what your group is going to do. And then years 2 through 5 are the action years. Year 7 is the year to congratulate yourself for what you accomplished, critique yourself, and get ready for the next 7-year cycle. So it's very Catholic. It's endless 7-year cycles that this is going to go. And it's aimed at everything you can think of. So mostly parishes and dioceses are doing it, but families like us did one. Educational, educational institutions do it. Religious orders, the Sisters of St. Joe's have done it. They can be any organization. A lot of hospitals, especially the Catholic hospitals, have done this. And what you do is you're looking how in 7 areas you and your group are going to respond. So, for example, in our parish, how is our parish going to respond to the cry of the earth? How are we going to respond to the cry of the poor? Ecological education, ecological spirituality, community engagement, living more simply. So if you take a look at your handout now, so the green page, this is what we did to advertise things that are happening in regards to season creation at Transfiguration in St. Catherine's. And you'll see that September 17th, St. Mary's is proudly right in the middle of the, if it was bingo, it would be right in the middle. And we are advertising the Diocese of Rochester pilgrimage this Saturday. We're going to do a Transfiguration St. Catherine's Ganadnagan thing since that didn't work out right with the diocese. So yeah, so you read that at your leisure. If you go to the other page, the white page, you'll see what so this is Transfiguration. So this was put together by a group of people at Transfiguration before Transfiguration, and St. Catherine's had one priest. So that's why we're 2 parishes with 1 priest now, but at the time this came out, it was 2 separate priests. So anyway, this is at Transfiguration. And this gives you an idea of the things that we came up with. So this was a year's worth of discernment boiled down to 3 months. And how we came up with things and how we're doing. So just go through it quickly. Response to the cry of the earth. So that was, to us, the most important one. And so our goal is to achieve net carbon negative by the end of the 7th year. So by the end of 28 to be carbon negative. And so that involves electrifying everything. And then for things that we can't electrify, offsetting it with solar panels on the property. So producing enough to counter what? Then you say, well, why can't you do everything electrified? And one of the problems is things break in parishes, right? And so in 2022, the heating system for the church went, and the parish council and finance council decided that it was too expensive to go ground-based geothermal heat pumps and put in gas. And so we're locked into gas for the next 30 years with that stupid furnace. So that we have to offset it. And there's, so again, the enemy is good as perfect. And again, it is what it is. We're not going to be able to replace that, but we're going to offset it. And what you see is who the owners are. And one of the very unfortunate things under owners, you'll see the initials GG way too often, and it's why a lot of things aren't getting done, because unless you have many hands, you can't get things done. And Nettie and I only have so many hours in the day. You can look at progress, and you can look at our deadlines, and you can see we've hit some deadlines, we've missed some deadlines. There's a lot of things that are ongoing. And if you look under response to the cry of the earth, number 2, solar array, we contacted Mission Energies and had made some pretty far discussions as far as putting solar on, and it would have cost us $0 to put solar there. And so we could have accomplished our goal without a penny. And then it was like, oh, you guys are in bankruptcy? No, we can't do this. and so, as everybody knows, the bankruptcy ended. Does anybody know, when everybody agrees the bankruptcy's done, they shake hands and everybody agrees with where the money's going, are we out of bankruptcy now, or is it still a year or two for all the paperwork to happen. Because the solar company won't talk to us till we're out of bankruptcy. And we don't get a new bishop until we're out of bankruptcy. So it's really important to know, so I'm glad the victims are getting compensated, but we now need to get out of bankruptcy so that we can move on with other things. So I haven't found anybody who knows that yet. The second big category, response to the cry of the poor, we do a global solidarity ministry. We do retreats down to Kentucky. Number 3, the Marv Mitch lecture. So number 3 in the second bullet, the Marv Mitch lecture, Reverend Jim Antal, was a great time, and we had probably about 15 people from Transfig that made it to the lecture. We have a gift garden that we're trying to grow. Number 5, and I really didn't know these guys were going to be here. Partner more with Reka. I really want to, the more we can work together, the better. The economics, one of the things I did right from the start is talk to our parish council, and they bought into it 100%. They said even if things are a little more expensive, so there's a green premium, if it's the right thing to do, we're going to do the right thing. So if we had had the discussion about the gas furnace versus heat pumps 2 years earlier, we would have actually probably won it. So it's like, opportunity missed. If you look at number 3 on that, ensure that all parish accounts are socially responsible. We had them in a socially responsible account, and the diocese said we can't do it anymore. And all accounts have to be with their chosen mutual funds, which are not socially responsible. So our funds went from not supporting guns and stuff to supporting guns and stuff. So anyway, told Denise not to give up hope. Going to the back page, adapt a sustainable lifestyle. You see some of the things we're doing. One of the biggest ones is number 3, promoting zero waste for all church events. So we've gotten to the point where we can have a 40th anniversary picnic with 240 people show up, and the total waste was less than 1 black garbage bag for 240 people. It was really good. So, you aim for zero waste, but we went from that would have been a 20-bagger years earlier to less than 1 bag. Ecological education, the next one, the St. Francis program, we have Earth Day program, Season of Creation. We put a green corner in every bulletin. One of our members does a Meatless Monday recipe. She's fantastic, and whenever there's space in the bulletin, it goes in. Ecological spirituality, again, we, number 2, I really push this with the deacons and with our priests, incorporate genuine and appropriate ecological threads into homilies. And we're getting there. There's been 2 of them, October of last year and 2 weekends ago. Father Rob knocked it out of the park, making it very clear that we are stewards of the earth and that it is our responsibility to be working on it. So that was great. And then engage the community, trying to get as many of our ministries involved with it, recruiting more people into the community garden, encouraging parishioners to not only do what we're doing at Transfig, but do it for your family. Do an action plan for your family. And then I report out to the parish council. It should be every other month, but they get canceled or they get busy, so it's probably more like 3 times a year I report what I have here. And one of the things you see at the very front start of the first page, the original one of these came out ready to go in November 2022. This is the September edition of it. It's a living document. So there are things added, there are things that are no longer felt to be practical, there's things that we're working on. It's a living document. I update our parish council regularly. So with that, I will take questions, comments, Oh, wait. I have 2 more slides. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Here's this one. So, for you guys, bottom line, cultivate hope, become an engaged citizen, which you guys all are already. Be nonviolent. I can't stress that enough. If we allow violence, we are going to lose. Find your niche in helping to save the planet and act. Act. So this is Carl Sagan. Anything else you're interested in is not going to happen if you can't breathe the air or drink the water. Don't sit this one out. Do something. You are an accident of fate alive in an absolutely critical moment in the history of our planet. And that's not touched up. That's a real sunset in our dock at Cuca Lake.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Good. Questions, comments? Yes, please.
There's an organization called the Catholic Climate Covenant.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes, they're the people who educated me. Yes.
People what?
They're the people who educated me to become, so they're the ones that contract with the US CCB, and they're actually the ones responsible in the United States for the platform, the Laudato Si action platform. The head of it, Dan Misla, is a very close personal friend.
They seem like a very good, very active.
They're very good, yeah, and great resources. If you dive into their website, a lot of great resources. Yeah, and are you on their regular email list? If not, sign up and
I am.
yeah.
I do get to.
Yeah, because the thing that Ruth and I were just talking about with the solar arrays till 2027, that came out of the Catholic Climate Covenant. So they have a lot of.
That's where I read it.
Yep.
So just to save the date for the RECA Summit.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. And I'll spread. We'll spread the word on it for you.